So I made a video a few days ago talking about how Sword and Shield booster boxes were undervalued, and there's great opportunity right now buying when these booster boxes are not being talked about and nobody really cares about them as of right now. Now, since that video that I made a few days ago, I've noticed there's been an influx of supply on the market, and you can actually buy some for a little bit of a discount. And we're talking about anywhere from maybe a 10-15% discount, which may not sound like a lot, but you got to think about it, this way. A lot of these booster boxes are anywhere from $500 to about $1,000. So, hey, a 10% discount could be anywhere from, $50 to $100, which I think, is not a bad thing at all. And if you are in the market to buy some of these Sword and Shield booster boxes, I think now is a pretty good time. I just can't think that right now, how at least the Scarlet and Violet era market is performing, and also Mega Evolution, and this just mass amount of demand. I just can't, look at these prices and think that at some point in the near future, which like I've been talking about, I think it's really going to be towards the end of the year where these will see another rise again. And I think after this next rise, prices, a lot of these booster boxes may be at the point where you're like, I'll just skip it and maybe just buy Scarlet and Violet, because some of these, in my opinion, are so cheap for what it is in this current market that there's just no way that they don't go up anytime soon. Obviously, assuming this market stays strong, which it looks like is going to. So I just want to show you guys here just the prices of these booster boxes and eBay. There are some deals for some of these, so I just want to point them out in this video just to get let you guys know that if I were you guys and you were trying to buy any of these, I'd be looking, especially on eBay. A lot more people are listing, and you can buy these for a little bit under market. So Shilling Rain booster boxes, at one point they were about $600 lowest listed. Now they're at $550. So a little bit of a discount what it used to be when they were $600 not too long ago. But they've sort of been around $550. But on eBay, for this box specifically, there's not many deals you can find. Like, they're basically about market, but the biggest thing with eBay, which I think is an advantage of buying to TCG Player, is that you actually get to see the box. There's one box here for $530. The seal, if you guys even care, it's on like the top. I checked it, so it's not the greatest looking box, but everything else here is pretty much about market. But this isn't one of the examples, I guess, of where it's a little bit cheaper. Now, Evolving Skies did actually get a little bit cheaper. There was a point where these boxes reached $3,000, where lowest listed it was $3,000 on eBay. It was pretty much $3,000, but since then prices have actually dropped a little bit. Now, it doesn't really show it on TCG Player, but yeah, at one point these were $3,000. Now they're back to where they were previously, around $2,400-$2,500. You can see lowest listed right now is $2,400. It's a smaller seller, but then after that it goes to $2,500. But it is worth noting that this box was at one point a little bit more expensive at around $3,000. Now on eBay you can also buy these for about $2,500. There's a few listings. You can see there's one right here, and there's just many listings you can find for about $2,400-$2,500. Like I said, at one point these were about $3,000. You can see some people are still listing them for around $3,000, but there are boxes where you can buy them for a little bit cheaper. So Evolving Skies, I mean, at this point, I feel like you probably would have already bought an Evolving Skies booster box if you were planning to buy at this price point, but they are a little bit cheaper than they used to be. They're not $3,000 anymore. They've kind of gone down to $2,400-$2,500, and it's possible to pick them up at that price. So hey, considering all factors, $2,400-$2,500 for an Evolving Skies booster box, that's not that bad. And especially, I mean, they were just recently pretty much at $3,000. Hey, you can find a minty one and get a good deal and catch a listing. I'd be looking out for it. Now, Fusion Strike, it's been sitting at about 1,050. Now, right now it's gone down to about low thousands, like very low thousands, and you can see here on TCG Player, these are smaller sellers. And if you want to actually buy from a more reputable one, it's still 1,050. But on eBay, there are a few sellers selling for about $1,000 flat. So hey, there's a few people you can see here selling for under $1,000 now, just a little bit under $1,000. But hey, if you can save a little bit of money and buy a Sword and Shield and out of print booster box, I don't think it's that bad. So just want to show you guys there's some things that are a little bit under market, and if you were looking or in the market for Sword and Shield booster boxes, I'd be looking around a little bit, because there's a lot more supply and people listing out there than actual demand, because just right now Sword and Shield Just no one's really talking about it as of right now because I think a lot of people are focused on the newer sets. Now, Brilliant Stars, I feel like this is one of the more steals, out of all these things. I really think Brilliant Stars is undervalued. It's at in the mid fives, and it's kind of stayed here. I guess I think at one point was it 600, but yeah, I feel like Brilliant Stars is one of the boxes that at this price point is a really good pickup. But yeah, it's probably going to stay in the mid fives for a little bit of time. Now on eBay, there's really not that many deals for this booster box. They're all just basically around market price. So this one is not one of them that there's a little bit of a discount, but still I think Brilliant Stars is a pretty good buy even just at market price. But it obviously you can find on eBay and get a clean box. That's probably a better option. Astral Radiance recently got bought out a little bit. You can see a couple days ago 10 boxes sold. Now it's gone up to $450. So on eBay you can still buy this box for $400 or a little bit less. So Astral Radiance, if you want to invest into this set, you can buy it for a little bit under lowest listed on TCG Player on eBay. So if you want to buy Astral Radiance, here you go. You can buy it for around $400. Now, Lost Origin, this is one of them that I saw recently. You can buy these for about $800 now. These, at one point, you can see here, went up to $900 after this one day. And, it looked like it was going to stay there, but since Sword and Shield isn't hyped up, and this was just, one day where people decided to buy, they've gone back down to almost $800 flat on TCG Player. Now, if you go on eBay, you can see there's some people selling for about that price point, $815. So you're saving about $100 from where they were previously at $900. So especially Lost Origin, getting a discount off of Lost Origin when recently it just ran up. Hey, I would be taking advantage if I were you guys. If you were trying to buy any of these booster boxes, there's even one here for under 800. There must be a ripper or something wrong with this, but there's a few here for under 800, so must be somewhat damaged, but I didn't click on them. But you guys can see there's plenty of listings out there. So if I were you guys, if you can find any for close to 8 and it's a clean box, I think that's probably a pretty good buy for Lost Origin. And lastly here, Silver Tempest, one of these boxes, this is one of the boxes like Brilliant and Chilling where I couldn't really find any great deals for it. You can see right now it's at $565. If you look on eBay, there's one here, but it's Spanish, but everything else is about $550 to pretty much just market price. So not really any deals for Silver Tempest, but there were a few boxes here that I wanted to mention that you can buy for a little bit cheaper. The biggest ones is Lost Origin. Fusion Strike has dropped just below like $1,000 if you get a listing from eBay, and Evolving Skies has dropped a little bit. And just generally any of these, like I said, I made a video a few days ago literally just talking about this, but I just wanted to reiterate this because I just noticed that some of these boxes you can buy for a little bit under TCG Player lowest listed, and some of these have dropped like $800 for a Lost Origin booster box. In my opinion, is cheap. I know that sounds ridiculous, like $800, but I really truly think in Lost Origin in a couple years, $800 I think is just very cheap in the grand scheme of things. Even Fusion Strike at like around 1,000, if you can get a little bit under 1,000, I think that's also just good too. Just all these prices for Sword and Shield, I think are just going to be very cheap after we see the next run up, which I feel like is going to be towards the end of the year. I feel like a lot of these in the 500s, I feel like a lot of them probably going to be 700, 800. All the ones in the high hundreds, they're going to be above $1,000. And that's why I just think that right now, if you can get a couple $100 discount, $50 discount on some of these boxes that are $500 to $1,000, and right now people don't really know what to buy in Scarlet and Violet. If you're a new investor, especially, I think Sword and Shield booster boxes, it's really the time to buy right now, because at this point in the market, anything Scarlet and Violet or Mega Evolution, there's really no super obvious plays other than Prismatic Evolutions, right? But other than that, everything else people are kind of iffy about. So if you're new, I would just go back to Sword and Shield and buy some of these while the market is not hot like everything else. And I think inevitably we're probably going to see another run up sometime soon. And I think you would have been glad that you were buying Sword and Shield, and these are good sets, when nobody cared about them during the time. So just want to make this video. I know I just made one a few days ago, but there was a few boxes I wanted to talk about that have gone down, and this is another opportunity to buy and get a small discount right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.